No weapons in sight. One reach for my zipper, other one she whispers into the mic. This our whip and our dick. This a carjack.
I guess this is kind of officially my first vlog, but what I'm going to do is, this is going to be called Podcast Point 5, because the first two podcasts that I really wanted to do were from my hospital bed, about my experience in the hospital. But with all the stuff that's going on right now, I figured this is the perfect time to share other things. And I've had a bunch of people reach out to me while I was in the hospital and recently, asking how I'm doing, thanking me for me sharing the story of what's going on with me, because daily I post Instagram videos, or at least I did, about what's happening with me in the hospital. Some videos were a little bit crazy because I was on morphine and I was very honest in things I said. Recently I had somebody reach out to me because she's kind of confused about what to do with her life. She's went through a few colleges and she's got a regular job. She doesn't know what to do. So what I did was I messaged her back and just kind of like shared my story, how I wound up where I'm at, not health-wise, but career-wise. And it's something that I think anybody who's a creative person or has a drive for whatever they love. With me, it's always been art. Ever since I was a little kid, I used to draw. When I was in Russia, this is actually kind of funny. When I was in Russia, I used to draw American planes fighting Russian planes, and the American plane said "Sasha," which is USA, beating up on the Russian planes. Ever since I was a little kid. And one of the crazy stories was I'm a big fan of gladiator movies and knights and things like that. I was a little kid in Russia and I saw Spartacus with Kirk Douglas and fell in love with men in skirts sword fighting each other. I decided one night when my parents were out to make my own Trojan knight helmet. So what I did was I made a helmet out of paper and glue. So I glued this amazing helmet. I looked like Spartacus. So then what I realized was I didn't let the glue dry. So when I tried to take the helmet off before my parents came home, it was attached to my hair. Literally, it was like glued to my head. So I panicked and I ripped off what I could and I took scissors to the rest of it. Well, when my parents came home, there was no Trojan helmet on my head, but definitely there were a lot of patches of hair missing. So I looked like the ogre guy from Goonies. I literally looked like Ogre's little. I don't know if that was even his name, but if it was, looked like Ogre's little son. It was kind of brutal. Luckily, I had that adorable, cute face. Always been into creating and art and building things, so when we came to United States from Russia, my parents didn't know the English language, so they had to take night school. I think it was like, at least it was a 1 year of night school, maybe possibly longer. And all I did was I sat there and I watched them learn the language and work their ass off to eventually have their own business. My parents are, man, talk about like tough Russians. Those are some tough Russians. And they worked their ass off to build what they had and to help me through my life, to help my brother through his life. So while I was watching them learn the language, I sat there at the table and just drew every night. Mostly Spider-Man. Big fan of Spider-Man. Spider-Man was the only superhero cartoon on television. It was super cheesy. I couldn't understand what he was shooting the webs at in the sky to hang on and swing over, but he did. He would shoot his webs into the sky. My love for art just kept going. In junior high, I took it wasn't online because there was no internet back then, but it was it was called Minnesota School of Art, and they would send you projects to do, and you would draw them and you send them back, and they would send you it graded back from a teacher and gave you notes and things like that. So I did that as well, and then eventually got my little diploma that I graduated. So when I wound up going to high school, I took art class after art class after art class. My whole goal was I want to be a cartoonist. I want to be an artist. So I drew all my notes had little sketches, little drawings here and there, I decided to apply to Hanna-Barbera. So I went in, I did like preliminary drawings. Well, I wasn't good enough, except for art classes. I did great in my art classes. I was a teacher's assistant in one class. I think I had like the last 2 semesters, I had 4 or 5 total art classes because I loved it. And being a senior, and if you have enough credits or units, take whatever the hell you want. So I just took a bunch of art classes. After high school, I applied and got accepted to Otis Parsons School of Design. I went to orientation and realized it wasn't for me. So I went to a commercial art school, local commercial art school, where I did really well and learned airbrushing. And the one thing that really caught my eye, we had to take a TV production course. Well, that TV production course just opened up so much of my brain. I was hooked. I couldn't get enough of it. I would sit with the teacher and pick his brain about it. We shot on VHS, old VHS Panasonic reporters. We edited from VCR to VCR. We had those old ass Macs. They weren't even Macs, they were Apple computers. So we could like type up our scripts and things like that. We had one class project where the whole class was involved. And it was like a chase scene through the whole building. And it took us 2 or 3 days to shoot. I was the only one that was consistent, wore the same outfits every day. I was there every day. And throughout this video, there's people running through frame. In the next frame, other people running through frame. And they're wearing different clothes. They just didn't care. Most of these people didn't care. They were just literally going through the motions of this TV production course because they wanted to do other things, like some wanted to be, again, cartoonists, or some wanted to work at a print shop, and this is way before Photoshop, so we had to learn how to copy and paste. So we would print out our different designs, and then we had to get our blue pencil and the rulers and straight edge and all that stuff, and mock up ads on the paper, on the board. Some people loved that. To me, I really didn't care about it. I saw my friend chop off tip of his thumb with an X-Acto knife, and that was enough for me. I was like, that's kind of disgusting. But maybe that's where my love for horror came in, watching my friend and just sitting there and watching him. He had his a hand on a ruler, and he was doing like a straight cut. And I'm watching it, I'm like looking at his thumb, and his thumb is off the edge of the ruler. I'm like, does he see it? He's gonna move it, right? No, he went really fast, and the X-Acto knives are super, super sharp. He went right through his thumb. Boop, took the tip right off. Pretty gross, but it's kind of funny in a way, because like, what are you doing, man? But when that TV production course came around, I was so hooked. I couldn't get enough of it. I actually have a VHS reporter camera that I use as props. I used it for Ink Motel prop in one of the scenes where this old school 80s pornographer is shooting on audition tape with a girl, and he's sitting behind this camera. It just brought back memories, and I had to use it. It's perfect. Still got a VHS tape in there and everything. Once I graduated from the commercial art school, I wound up going to local junior college, Los Angeles Valley College, where I took film theory and film history courses. Well, that got me just hooked on filmmaking even more. I was a sponge. I was soaking it all in. Teach me more. Give me more. I still have those books because I look back on them. They sit on my shelf, and I look at them, and it just reminds me of how amazing the process of learning filmmaking is. If you love it, oh man, you just can't get enough. You want to watch old movies, like what they made us watch, Visions of Light. And every person that reaches out to me about wanting to learn about lighting or cameras or filmmaking, I tell them, watch Visions of Light. It's an older documentary. It's probably from the mid 80s, but it's the most amazing filmmaking documentary you can see. So I watched that. I watched all these old black and white films and read all these books and about all the different filmmaking genres. It was pretty amazing. Film history, it just tells the whole story of life. It's from D.W. Griffith and how he glamorized the KKK and Birth of a Nation, which is the first full feature film how it is now, how it's changed from being how it should be. In my opinion, a lot of it is too politically correct, but such go the times, right? And back then it was a whole different mindset, and that's what he did. You watch Charlie Chaplin movies or Buster Keaton, and you're just like, wow, these people not only were actors, they were filmmakers, and they were stuntmen all in one. Now, God forbid, an actor does his own stunts, except for Jackie Chan, I guess, and Tom Cruise. Reading all these books and seeing examples on the big screen, because we had a theater at the junior college where we'd sit and watch these movies. It was so inspiring. And then we got the opportunity to hold a film camera. It was a Super 8 camera, and shoot with it. So we all went as a class project to shoot just different various shots outside. My teacher wanted me to shoot a shot of a train coming towards the camera and going past the camera. So we set up the tripod on the train tracks. We were waiting for you could hear the train coming. So you get the camera going, you start rolling. The one thing the teacher told me, don't get too close because you might get sucked closer towards it. And you could just hear the rumble, and then you could feel the rumble underneath your feet. So now you're hearing the rumble, you're feeling it under your feet, and then you're hearing the siren of the train as it gets closer. And I just stood there, closed my eyes, put my two hands on the tripod to keep it steady, and got the shot. And it was a cool shot. We watched it later when we got the film from the lab a few days later. It was pretty cool. I didn't do much except stand there and just pray that I don't die. It was amazing though. Then each student had to do their own project. And mine was, I wanted to do a commercial called Gangstas Are Us. And I used one of my best friends, James. Well, he's James now because he's old. He was Jimmy back then, as the lead actor. And so what it was is you take a nerdy white boy and you turn him into a cool cat. That was the whole premise of this commercial. You dress him up and now the chicks would be all over him. So we did shots of him dressed up as a nerd walking down the street, and then the narrator calls out for him, "Hey, white boy!" And then we could do a bunch of inserts, and then all of a sudden he's dressed as in this cool hip hop outfit. And Jimmy and I were big hip hop fans, and so we had our own outfit to share to make this cool cat out of him. And we had a couple of our friends just stand under each arm. We got the final shot where Gangsters R Us did it again, and that was my first project by myself. So going through all these steps and just falling in love with this creative form of storytelling, and it's a process, and it's a lot of hard work, and you really, really have to love it to do it, because there's a lot that goes into it, a lot. You have to, especially when you don't have a budget or a crew, you are doing everything. So you have to learn everything. And back then we're just learning. Like, I don't know what I was doing. Cameras on auto exposure, auto everything. Oh, well, there's no autofocus in film, so you measure your focus to the person, and then you set the focus. And after a couple of years of film theory and film history classes, I applied and got accepted to Brooks Institute of Photography. Now, Brooks Institute of Photography is a highly acclaimed photography college out of Santa Barbara. So they had a motion picture department program where they teach you how to be a cinematographer, and you get a bachelor's degree in cinematography and motion picture. I couldn't get enough of it. I was the biggest film nerd and the hardest working dude out there, next to my old friend Pablo. Rest in peace. He was one of those great stories that worked at nights and on weekends for the school to pay for his tuition. He was an amazing filmmaker, amazing human being. In my little over 3 years at Brooks, I worked on 55 projects. That's besides schoolwork and homework and classes and things like that. I worked on everything I could, from other student projects to my own student projects to outside projects to driving to LA to work on productions. I worked on everything. I mean, God, I even worked at one point on Orgasmo, Matt Stone and Trey Parker's, one of the first films. I was a crew guy on it. I worked on everything I could possibly get. And most of the jobs were deferred payments. You didn't get paid, or it was just for experience of it. But I didn't care. I'm a film student. I'm learning. I'm not only learning, I'm meeting people, and they're seeing my hard work. And in my eyes, I'm like, man, my hard work is going to be harder than the other person's efforts. So I will move forward, and that's what happened with every project. I moved forward, and I got more opportunities. I think this is why my reputation is where it's at as a director in the adult industry, because I bring that same mentality to the adult industry, which most people don't. Your last job is your portfolio for your next job. Every job means as much as your previous job and as your next job. Be professional, be cordial, respect everyone around you, and great things will come to you. And if not, you did the right thing at the end of the day, and that's all that matters. And back then, I was young, a spry. I would carry cables. They were 75-pound cables each. Are called Bandit. I carried one on each shoulder, running up and down hills, and the older grips would be like, "What are you doing?" God created wheels for a reason. You have a cart there. Throw the cables in the cart and push, and I'm like, but that takes more time. I'd rather just grab the cables, throw on my shoulders, and take off. And I did, and then once I got older, I would tell the same thing to the younger guys. I'm like, "What are you doing? You're crazy. Stop carrying that stuff. You're gonna break your back." When you're young, you're happy, you're enthusiastic, you just want to prove your worth. You know what they say, when you're young, you think with your heart. When you're older, you think with your brain. And that goes not just for filmmaking or life. That goes with politics. That goes with everything. That's why young people are like always shitting on older people, going, you're so bitter and old. No, they're just wise, and they have a lot of experiences. And when you're young, you don't. So you just kind of go with the flow, and you think that you know it all. When at the end of the day, none of us know it all. Hey, look, I was in the hospital for 2 months because I thought I knew everything. I didn't know shit. I was that guy that people say like, as long as you feed Slava, he'll come and work for you. It's true, but I wasn't doing it for the food. I was doing it for the experience and to help people. It was great. It was like great. The most amazing thing is being on low budget film sets, because the crew becomes like a big family. You sometimes sleep together on set, not literally, but you take naps while the other person works, or you help the other person carry something, or especially problem solving. That's the best part about low budget filmmaking, is problem solving. I couldn't get enough of it. It was one of those things that I just wanted to do for the rest of my life, no matter what the money was, who I was working for, or even with, because I just loved the whole process. Climbing up to the roof to set up lights, and throwing sandbags up to the roof, or throwing them down, and dragging light stands up the ladder. Scary, yeah. Fun, hell yeah. Because when you see the final result, it's really cool, because it takes a lot. An artist who draws something on a piece of paper, talented people, it's just them. A film takes a crew. What is it? It takes a village to raise one kid. Well, it takes a village to raise one movie as well. I was getting close to graduation, and I had to take one class to finish off my units, and it was speech class. Now, I have social anxiety. I cannot speak in front of a group of people. Heart starts beating, starts sweating. I can't do it. First day of speech class, I got up in front of the class, and I looked at everybody, and I thought I was going to soil my pants. I thought I was going to break down and start crying. Tried my hardest to get through that speech or introduction, and barely got through it, and never went back to the class. But I needed to take the class, so I wasn't sure if I was going to graduate. And then when my class's graduation was coming up, my counselor told me that I will be walking the stage, but I won't be getting my physical diploma. I was confused. Why am I walking the stage if I haven't taken this final class? And the counselor was like, well, you could always take speech later. You could take it at another college and just transfer the units, and we'll send you your diploma. With my reputation as a hard worker and literally helping everybody out with their project, I won a motion picture departmental award, which I kind of figured, just because I worked my ass off, and sometimes when people see your hard work, they actually want to reward you for it or show you that they get it and they understand. I got my departmental award, and then I'm sitting with my parents waiting for the graduation to end, and then they announced there's a president's award winner, actually two. This is a photography school, so usually photography majors the motion picture majors, we're like the black sheep of the college. After a few classes that we did with the photography majors, we went our own separate ways. We had our own building. We didn't interact with the photography students much. It wasn't like there was like the summer dance or the spring fling. It was none of that. It was literally you're on your campus, and they are on their two campuses. So usually the President's Award winner is a photography major, if they have one, because there's only 49 winners in like 49 years of the school's history. Then they announce my friend Pablo, again, rest in peace. He died a good amount of years ago. Very young, very talented, really sad. But he won. He deserved it. This guy worked on everyone's projects as well. He worked for the school to pay his tuition. This man was like an inspiration to everybody. He was a big fan of, I'm trying to remember the female musician's name, Melissa Etheridge. I'm not sure who it was. But anyways, he's a big fan of her music. All he wanted to do was to be a photographer for her. And I think he actually accomplished that. He was a photographer for her for a while after graduation. I mean, that guy was a hard worker. Whatever he set his mind to, he did. Anyways, so he gets his President's Award. Yeah, deservedly so. Then they announce there's another winner, and they announce my name. I was shocked. And I had to go up there and get my award in front of all these people. So now my heart's beating right now, just remembering the moment. And as I'm walking up there, I realized why they had me walk the stage without having my actual diploma. They can't have the President's Award winner not be there. So as I walk up there and walking across the stage, I look down and I see my parents there, and my mom's crying. My dad looks choked up. My brother's tiny little brother. He's a full-grown man now, but he's a tiny little brother. Man, I thought I was gonna break down and cry right there, because it was watching my parents and seeing their emotion about what their son just accomplished made me think about all the hard work I put into it. And I didn't do it to win. I didn't even thought I was going to get this award. That wasn't what it's about. It was about learning and creating and doing something really wonderful with a lot of wonderful people that I went to school with. I'm telling you, it was so hard to be up there and not just want to fall on the ground and cry a little bit. Your heart's beating really hard. Luckily, I was young enough where I wasn't going to have a heart attack where my heart shoots out of my chest. It was a moment in life that I will never forget. Because I worked on so many projects while in film school, I met a lot of people. I met a guy named Chris who was assistant director on a short horror film I worked on about aliens and alien abductions and things like that. And he always told me, once I graduate from college, to give him a call and he'll get me a job. So I called him before I graduated, and he was telling me he was DPing, he was director of photography on 2 back-to-back features for Cinemax. Basically, you call them Skinemax because it's just a bunch of nudity. And what it was like, we did 2 versions. It was a Skinemax version and a USA Network version. So the Skinemax version has nudity. Then we shoot the same scene with the talent wearing bikini top and bottom or whatever. And he tells me that he'll get me on these projects. 2 feature films shot in 5 weeks. Pay, I think, was $100 a day. You could get me into dolly grip. For $100 a day back then, this was like 97, 23 years ago. It's still a lot of money now for somebody graduating from film school and actually getting paid to work, let alone back then. I was like, ooh, I made it. Man, I won't be rich. I was a great dolly grip. I worked on so many projects outside of school as a dolly grip. And I was getting hired as a dolly grip. And now again, I was getting hired to work on 2 features as a dolly grip. What I did was I made business cards that said Salvador Dolly, because I was the artist behind that dolly. The features went great. I met more people. And what happened was, with every project, after school, it led to the next project because I kept meeting people and they kept bringing me on to other projects. And then eventually I wound up getting on a TV show called Adventures of Animal Rescue Kids. And the way I got on the show was a classmate of mine, Glenn, who's this amazing underwater cinematographer and then eventually became an amazing TV show director. Super big, giant, buff guy, great personality, really funny guy. None of us at school ever thought that he was going to be anything because we were like, that goofball, he's just buff and loves to swim. Well, he was buff, loved to swim with a great personality and a great eye, and that, and that helped him get a long way. So he called me up one day and he goes, hey, I'm working on the show called Adventures of Animal Rescue Kids for Animal Planet. Would you like to come on there? I knew nothing about video. I was a film guy. Sure. He's like, don't worry about it. We'll hold your hand through the whole process. You're a hard worker. I told everybody about you. So I went on that show. And the show lasted 2 years. We got to shoot and work with some of the most amazing animals: lions, tigers, bears, crocodiles, orangutans. Really, really cool stuff. And I met amazing crew people. People that still are right now, shooting and directing shows like The Bachelor and Wheels of Fortune. Wheel of Fortune. That'd be a cool show if there was Wheels of Fortune. These people were very inspiring to me because I learned so much from them, and they dealt with this kid out of film school who knew film, not video, and they just held my hand through the process. I was a hard worker, so I guess that helped. But I eventually met enough people where it led to more jobs and next job. Then the last mainstream job that I had, real job that would lasted for a couple of years, was the show called The X Show. And The X Show was kind of like the Man Show, but it was on FX Networks. It was on for 2.5 seasons. It was amazing. It was a daily show. We come in there in the morning, we pre-light, we set up the cameras, do everything we had to do, shoot the show, go to lunch, rehearse the rest of the day for the next day's show. It was amazing. It was only 3 blocks from my house. I live in Hollywood, and just go straight over there and come straight home. It was really, really cool. A lot of great experiences. I'm going to talk more about these things that I've been bringing up on this really quick podcast. Things I'm going to elaborate on, and I'll have videos from those moments and pictures, all kinds of stuff. That's what my podcast is going to be all about. It's not going to be just audio. If you want to see the video portion of it, you'll get to see this ugly face, but you'll get to see clips that I'm going to put over the whole audio of things that I talk about, things that I've done, pictures. I'm going to have people from my life on the podcast, people from my adult industry, people from my horror filmmaking industry that I worked with, and people just from from wrestling world. A lot of this stems where I'm at now from the wrestling world. So I guess this is where it leads to right now. So I was working on the X Show, and one of the hosts was John Weber, super tall, funny ass comedian actor. My brother and I were big wrestling fans. I stopped being a wrestling fan until I saw ECW while I was in film school. I was like, oh, is this real? It was crazy watching Taz suplex people and just kill people in the ring. And Sabu, Terry Funk, Mick Foley, all these people brought me back to wrestling, but hardcore wrestling. I saw an ad for I forget, it was one of the clubs out here in Hollywood was having a deathmatch tournament, King of the Deathmatch tournament, by a promotion called XPW. My brother was 15 at the time, 14 or 15, maybe younger, 14, I think. I took him to it. As a good big brother should. You take your 14-year-old little brother to watch some dudes cut each other up with barbed wire glass and thumbtacks. And we fell in love with it. It was amazing. It was 8 wrestlers having, a tournament. It was like deathmatch tournament. And then they have the finale where they replace the rope with barbed wire, and they have this match in this crazy ring with barbed wire bottles and a bed of thumbtacks and mouse traps, all kinds of stuff. I went back to work the following Monday, and I told John Weber about it. John Weber was hooked. He wanted to go. So the next show, I brought John Weber. John's on television, and he loves wrestling. So we wound up meeting with the owner and the VP of XPW. It was Kevin, who was the VP, and pretty much ran the whole thing, and Rob Black, who was the owner of it. And of course, what happens is when people have connections and people know people, things happen. So now that Rob Black and Kevin knew a guy from a television show, and the guy on the television show knew them, and Rob Black was the owner of Extreme Associates, a big porn company. Whoa, what an opportunity to bring people on the TV show. So what happened was John went and pitched the producers about bringing on, not Rob Black, but Lizzie Borden, Rob's wife at the time. She would come on the show, and her segment was how to hide porn from your loved ones. So if you have your porn tapes, you can hide them from your girlfriend or your boyfriend that they won't find. And that was like the segment. It was pretty funny. And they would bring us boxes and boxes and boxes of VHS porn. And this is when porn was on VHS in those giant, thick cardboard boxes, which I still have some, which is collector's items, I guess, in some ways. Since this was a porn company and a wrestling company, we were trying to figure out how we could be more involved. Not in the porn aspect of it, but the wrestling company. And my brother started helping them with the wrestling company. He was doing their website because my brother was a computer genius. He was designing their website. He was doing live shows. He was doing live play-by-play. I didn't have much to do with it until one day my brother's like, hey, you should show them your reel. They might want to use you for basically what they used me was to shoot ringside with a VX2000. Everybody remembers the VX2000s who'd been for pornographers. That was like the first great porno camera. You put the wide angle lens adapter on it. Now you got the super nice wide shot. The camera was easy to hold. It was you could put on autofocus, or you could put on manual focus and click the autofocus button, and it'll boom, just instantly lock in for focus. So they gave me that camera to shoot ringside for the cooler shots. Because they had the big cameras, like the beta cams, to shoot the shows. My camera was used to shoot promo videos for the following show or for their TV show, and I loved it. None of us get paid, but we didn't care. We get to hang out with wrestlers. We get to meet wrestlers. We get to go to the shows for free. The hardest part was shooting death matches at ringside because you smell the iron because there's blood everywhere and it splatters. And pretty gross, but exciting at the same time. My brother did the play-by-play above. I shot stuff ringside. I was hooked to the wrestling part, and so was my brother. We actually wound up going to Philly. We were flown out there to do play-by-play, and I'll do probably a couple of segments about wrestling and my love and hate for wrestling and wrestlers, certain wrestlers. And I'll have wrestlers on the show because I know a few wrestlers, which would be pretty cool to sit and shoot the shit with some real wrestlers, some really talented people. When the X show was canceled and the other show was canceled, there was a spin-off show called Chris Gore Movie. The movie show with Chris Gore. It was like a movie review show and showing trailers for upcoming movies. Then I worked on another show called Culture Shock. It was like a pilot episode for a show they wanted to shoot. It never wound up happening because there was an injury on set and lawsuit and all kinds of things. At the same time, I had Extreme Associates reach out to me about shooting behind the scenes for them. Sure, I didn't think anything of it. This is going to be a great opportunity for me to actually hold the camera and get paid for it. Because the entire time after film school, all we did our horror films, we did our documentaries, all independent, low budget stuff. We did it ourselves and with our own money. And every time I had a paid job, I was either lighting for somebody or holding camera cable for somebody. This was my opportunity to actually get creative. So what I did was I went to set and I shot really cool behind the scenes. I shot cool little angles here and there. I made it like an actual film on its own. It's kind of like From Dusk Till Dawn, there's a documentary called Full Tilt Boogie that's a feature-length documentary that stands on its own as hey, look, this is a feature within a feature set and feature crew. That's what I wanted to do. I did cool little skits. I did like, I would cut out images and make them fly around. It was kind of like an MTV style behind the scenes, but done back in 2003, 2004. Then I worked on one set where the director literally didn't know what the hell he was doing. I mean, he's been around before, and he left to do music videos, and then he came back, and he was supposed to be like the big, it was our big acquisition. He's back, and he's directing only for, it was Evolution Erotica at the time. It wasn't Extreme, even though they were like sister companies, basically the same company. After the first day of production, I called Kevin, the VP, CEO, I'm not sure what he was. He ran the company. He was the brains behind the crazy one. I told him, I said, man, if you're paying this guy, I'll shoot circles around him. I'll shoot circles around him for half his rate. I don't know what he was getting paid, but I knew he was getting paid a lot. Kevin's like, okay, well, if opportunity comes, I'll let you direct. And well, opportunity came like the following week when Tom Byron, who was the owner and director of Evolution Erotica, got sick. So Kevin calls me and he's just like, hey, here's your opportunity. I'm like, what do you mean? Tommy's sick, you got to shoot this next scene. What? So, sometimes it's like, don't ask for it if you don't actually want it to happen. Well, it was happening. And I was freaking out. On my way there to set, I'm driving there, I'm going, oh my God, I'm just going to run my car into the road, into the tree, because this way there'll be an excuse why I couldn't make it. I was freaking out. Luckily, the two people I worked with, the talent, they knew me from other shoots, and they were like, man, we got you, don't worry about it, don't freak out, and it went well. But for the first 6-7 years of my career as an adult director, I couldn't sleep at night. Because I'm a perfectionist. I want to make sure when I come to set, everything's done right. The lighting's good. The camera's good. Everything's in focus. Everyone's treated with the respect that they deserve. Everybody leaves happy knowing that they were treated as a human being and have the most professional environment on set I can have, especially for what we do. You want to make sure your talent is comfortable and happy, because happy, talented talent will give you that much more than you can ask for, because they'll appreciate the fact that you appreciate them, and they'll give you everything they could possibly give you because they know you appreciate it and you respect them. And it goes both ways. If you're a dick director whose only thing is waiting for the scene to be over so you could hit on the girl, wait till you see what kind of content you actually shoot. The girl might not even be into it. The male talent might not be into it, because it's a weird vibe on set. And eventually I started shooting super creative stuff there. I shot a movie called Texas Asshole Massacre that got nominated. I shot it with my ex, the only girl I ever did in the industry. We did this project, Texas Asshole Massacre, and she got nominated for Best Actress. My movie got nominated for Best Comedy. We were kind of brand new to this stuff. She's never been nominated. This was my first, my movie. And we had no budget. I got offered a job. I guess I could even say it. I got offered a job by Wicked Pictures. So I went and met with them. And all I heard was, look how big our conference room is with all these trophies. My movie was going up against Camp Cutley Pine's Power Tool Massacre. And the movie was, their movie was cool. I got a copy of it to watch. And what I was told was look, your movie cost $8,000 to make, because my movie cost $8,000 to make, and probably half of it came out of my own pocket. Their movie was over $100,000. I don't want to give the exact number, but they gave me the exact number. And basically what I was told was your movie cost this much to make, our movie cost this much to make, our advertising money was this, and yours was $0. That kind of ego thrown in my face didn't want me to come work. It wanted me to keep doing what I did, which is creating. I didn't care about the money. I didn't care about the accolades. I want to do some cool stuff. And especially after I watched their movie, and I'm just like, it looks like every girl is counting the minutes till the scene's done. And then they're cum dodging. For all of you who don't know what cum dodging is, in our industry, cum dodging is a woman or a man, I guess, depends on what you're shooting. And as soon as it starts shooting towards your face, you're dodging. You're making that face get that away from me. It's made out of acid. If this is your mentality, either go be a contract girl or don't get in the industry. Period. I'm confused. This is supposed to be a fantasy. And in the fantasy, in all our fantasies, the person we're fantasizing about is actually into it, not running away from it. Well, I'm sure, I guess there are people who have the fantasy of somebody running away from them and they're chasing them, but that's a whole different ballgame. Rob Black actually wound up going to prison for one movie called Forced Entry, where it was like a rape movie. So I guess that does have its fan base. And there are a few companies these days that still do that kind of shit. I stayed with Extreme and kept making really, well, I was directing for Evolution Erotica, but it was basically Extreme Associates. And I just kept making, I did another movie called Dawn of the Head, and I was just having a good old time. I started shooting The Sixth Sense, but then I had to quit because it was getting too much, you know. I was owed a lot of money, and I couldn't handle just seeing what some of the crew and talent was going through. It was the best job I ever had, creatively, because for whatever Rob Black was, he gave me the ultimate freedom to shoot what I wanted. Same goes for Tom Byron. Tom Byron taught me a lot about the industry, a lot. And again, I will talk about this more as my podcasts keep going, and then more about Rob Black. For whatever they were and wound up being at the end, they gave me the opportunity that was priceless because nobody else would. And they were creative. I mean, Rob Black was one of the more creative people I know. Strange as fuck, not the nicest guy, but man, he was you know, he was an innovator in so many ways. And since I grew up watching Dolomite and trauma movies, and I was strange and I was into sports, him and I had this bond because he was weird and strange and he was crazy into sports. Can you imagine working for somebody when you walk by their office in the morning and go, "Good morning, Rob," and he goes, "Go fuck yourself," or just throws up a middle finger at you? That's great. Like, you think, don't get offended. That's like a term of endearment for someone like Rob Black. Like, fuck, that's great. Like, if he didn't like me, he wouldn't say a fucking word, because later on, before I quit, that's what it was. He didn't like me. He didn't say a word. We would be in the same room, and he would like tell Mark to tell me what he thought about what I just shot, rather than talking to me directly. So if he's talking to you, that's a good thing. It's kind of like, you know, with friends. If friends bust each other's balls, it means they like each other. They're comfortable doing this. If they're not talking to you, they're not comfortable with you, or they're upset at you. So I was there, you know, and when I quit, I went and worked for Anabolic. I did some really cool films. I met so many cool people. And that's how I wound up being part of Puba, because I shot London Keys when she was brand new. I think it was like second or third scene. And her and I became friends. A lot of the new talent that I shot, we became friends because I became like a big brother. Anabolic actually called me Captain Save-A-Ho. That's the tagline they put on me. I was Captain Save-A-Ho. I would, you know, and to me I was like, yeah, I'd rather help the girl instead of trying to screw her or screw her over, because these are human beings that came here because they needed this. You know, now people are coming into porn industry because they want to be fucking celebrities, or they want to be social media stars, influencer, which is a joke. Back then, people came in because they needed the money, or they actually just love sex. And with the young people, it was literally because they needed the money. And who am I to like fuck with their heads? So I became friends with a lot of the younger talent, where I was like the big brother. And London was one of those. And London and I are still really good friends. Her boyfriend at the time created Puba for her to do her website. At the time, my brother and I were doing, or working on doing, sites for a handful of girls as well. Jaden James, Shella Styles, people like that. They were doing a site for Mason Moore, A.V. Scott, and London Keys. London's boyfriend was about to start directing for Twisties and needed a camera guy because he didn't do his own camera work. She called me. And usually I wouldn't pick up the phone. I'm like, let me pick it up. Maybe she needs something. And she's like, hey, do you want to do camera work for my boyfriend, for Twisties? I'm like, sure. So we met, we hit it off, and then I became partners with him on Puba. So basically what I was trying to get to with this person, when I messaged her back about how it's like a snowball effect and a domino effect, where each job leads to the next job. Each moment in life leads to the next moment in life. Good and bad. You know, the bad ones you learn from, hopefully, and you're okay and you move forward. The bad, you know, the good ones lead you to the next job and or to the next step of your life. It's one of those things where every day we evolve, every day we learn. I mean, look what's going on now with this coronavirus. People are overreacting, people are underreacting. And the people that are underreacting and not preparing for it, it's not that if they start preparing for it, they're crazy. It's that you have to prepare yourself because others are overreacting. So you have to have enough food or water or whatever you may need, because other people are going to take all those resources because they're overreacting, they're freaking out. But all these are learning experiences, like our country should have learned from other countries. The people in this country that shit on America should learn what the rest of the world goes through. That's why immigrants in this country don't complain, because they came from worse situations in life to come to this great country. So they understand. People that were born here and they go to 7-Eleven on every corner don't understand the hardships of life. The hardships of not having toilet paper, using newspaper to wipe your ass. And look at all these people now. Look, oh my God, I need toilet paper. No, you don't. Chill the hell out. And don't buy every piece of toilet paper so nobody else has it. It's just, or you punch someone in the face for the extra roll of toilet paper. It's insane. What I was trying to explain to her was just let it happen. Find something that you love. It doesn't have to be about money or anything else. It's about your love for what you do. Because if you find what you love to do, it's not a job. It's not one of those things where you wake up like, I gotta go there again. No, every day you should wake up and go, whew, I can't wait to get back to my career or to building my brand or whatever it may be. Every day is a progress, especially if you are building your brand. Every day is a progress to the next step of your brand. And it's never work. It's always like investing back into yourself and investing back into your heart and soul and your happiness. So that's what I was trying to explain to her. And like I said, like the first 2 podcasts were supposed to be of me in the hospital, which I already recorded. But this came up, and this whole coronavirus thing came up, and I'm actually stuck in my parents', my mom's office, extra bedroom on this futon because I can't walk. I just had my 9th surgery a few days ago, and my legs got skin grafts all up and down it. They just took the staples out, and I'm supposed to be off my feet for 2 weeks. So my parents are taking care of me, and I'm bedridden for most part. I hop around on a walker. So I was like, man, let me just do this one podcast about finding what you love and run with it. Like especially for filmmakers right now, if you're stuck at home, man, as long as you have Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever you have, you could watch some really cool movies and get some really cool ideas and take your pen and paper out and start jotting down ideas, so when this is all over with, you have things to create or do. And if you're an artist, man, just start drawing. If you're a writer, start writing. If you're a machinist, sorry, you don't have a machine to work on. But if you're a creative person, create or write down ideas to create later. When I was in the hospital, so many ideas were stuck in my head and in my heart. And then when I came out, I wrote them down. I'm still writing down ideas. I have so much stuff that I want to do and share, that once I'm healed, and hopefully this goes away soon enough, this self-quarantine situations with people and this virus, we all can get back to normality with a different mindset, with a different outlook on what other people go through. I can't even imagine what homeless people are going through right now, or poor people in general. Basically, this podcast was about find what you love and grow with it every day. And when the day comes where you're ready to move on to the next life or whatever's next for any of us, you can look back on it and be happy that you did it your way, you did it the proper way, you loved what you did. The bad mistakes in life are not mistakes, they're lessons for the next step in your life. And that's it. Just find it and run with it.